Good morning to you and you and you and you and you. How are we all? Post Father's Day. What a lovely Father's Day it was. What a lovely, chilled, relaxing Father's Day it was. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Raspberry Mojito Girl, December 1982. Tim Reed, Sally O'Sullivan. Hope you're well, Tim. Ruth Blandford. Hope you're well, Sally. Ruth, got to go food shopping in a mo. Hope you're going to get something nice. I've been food shopping. I've been out and about. I've already done a Zoom meeting, and homeschooling is about to start straight after this. Morning, Gabrielle. Jen Legs was leggy blonde. Morning. Had my second jab this morning. Jab, jab, jabbity jab, 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 jab. Who likes the word jab? Say yes or no. Do you like the word jab? I fancy a jab job. It's proven quite a job to get a jab. I went to the loo and did a jabby jobby. No, Becky Hicks. Denise Nelson, Gail, yes, you like it. Suffering with painful, what? Annie. Morning, Mark. Hi, Steph Coleman. Sorry, I don't know why I read out my own name. Morning, Marie. Thank you very much. Morning, Hazel. Jilly D. Yeah, I'm 2 weeks into these meds, and apparently they don't take effect for 4 to 6 weeks, but I certainly feel a bit different. Vanessa Wild, prefer the word vaccination. Lucy Williams, jibber jabber. I like those from childhood. Morning, Mark and subs. I like those from childhood. Yeah, childhood. Well, we're going to talk about school nurses to try and remember the sick room. Do you remember it used to be called the sick room? Just cast your mind back to the sick room, or the nurses' room. It was an odd, curious place at my school, and my school was a nice school. Shonster Migmon, matron's office. That's very carry on, isn't it? The knit nurse, Fiona Cromack. Yeah, absolutely right. Alzaran, morning, Mark, morning. Deborah Holdsworth, hope you had a lovely Father's Day. The words from Kiki, Maddie and Nadia they were so lovely, weren't they? Really, really nice. And I had lovely texts from Fleur and Izzy too. So yeah, it was really nice. I felt very loved. Puke pit, Harry James. That's a really nice way to call it. Yeah, puke pit. So good morning. Good morning. Jenny Cox, hi Mark. Busy making blinds for my living room as it's pouring with rain in Cornwall. They'd say, put a wet paper towel on it, Orams Jams. On what? HW, so loved the words in the Father's Day cards from the girls to you. They were amazing that you have such wonderful, beautiful girls like I said. I know, it was lovely. And as I say, I had lovely messages from Fleur and Izzy too, which was really nice. It is always a curious time though, isn't it, Father's Day? Because I think it's really important that I think we talked about it yesterday, didn't we? I think it's really important that you just reflect on your successes, but really also focus on where you can improve. And I think we always have to I think there's a danger sometimes as a parent to think, I am what I am, this is the way I parent, take it or leave it. And I think what we forget is that we're encouraging our children to kind of learn, change and evolve. And if we don't learn, change and evolve, they're going to lose respect for us in many ways. So I think it's all about evolution. If you stop evolving, you become old, and you may as well just chuck the towel in. That's what I say. It's all about change. Sometimes this idea that you have to have an iron rod, I just think it's counterproductive. And I think it's for people who are essentially fearful of moving with the flux and flow of contradictory life. HW, flipping accent, hang on a minute, that got a bit philosophical for a minute there. Let's do a handbrake turn. God, now that is something to talk about. Are boys or girls better at making mechanical sounds? I know the answer to this. Are boys or girls better at making mechanical sounds? I mean, I used to love all that shit. I used to spend hours trying to, I never knew what gear changing was as a young boy, but that's the sound. All that. And then guns. doing an arrow. I remember when I used to drive Izzy to and from Frome when we'd see her. We used to drive huge miles to ensure that our relationship was intact. I used to do the sounds of, I don't know if you remember Monty Python. They used to have, Terry Gilliam used to do those wonderful, surreal kind of cartoons and illustrations, right? And he used to have this character that was a sort of weird crony sort of woman type thing pushing a pram. And someone would look into it and go, "Oh, what a lovely baby." And then the pram would eat them. Isn't that lovely? And sometimes the pram would fall off a cliff. It was very dark and very surreal. But anyway, I think I remember one drive all the way from here to Frome. For about 2.5 hours, because we always hit traffic around Stonehenge. Do you see the segue I did there? Summer solstice, druids, angry druids. I changed it to upset druids because I like druids. I didn't want it to look like I was criticising druids because I like druids. I have it known I like druids. And on the way, I used to, on this one trip and many other trips, I do the sound of the same pram. It's quite dark, this, so bear with me. Falling off, think cartoon, don't think real. And it would be the pram going over the top of a cliff and the sound. That sort of stuff. And Izzy would laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And it was trying to find ever more inventive ways to... all that kind of stuff. Sarah Watkins, just wondering, just going off beam here, just for a minute, is there any chance you could do a Confessions of a Modern Parent with self-harming kids, teens? I've just found out myself. Yeah, it's a big topic. I'm so sorry you've heard that, but believe me, it's a very serious subject to go from what we're talking about. But yeah, self-harm is a very serious thing to talk about, and it's very complicated, and it works much like an addiction situation. So yes, you're right. It would be interesting to talk about it, and important. So yeah, I'll talk to Nads about that. Sorry to hear you going through that process though. That's tough. HW, that's so beautiful, Mark. My niece's dad drives 2.5 hours to pick her up and take her back to hers for the weekend so she gets to see her other half. Yeah, we used to do it all the time. It was great long journeys. I mean, my heart went out to Izzy because, of course, you had that great long schlep. But to be honest with you, I have many fond memories of Fleur and Izzy in the car, just being silly, but safe. Silly, but safe. Yeah, and the Stonehenge bit was always fun. It wasn't really because it was always trafficky. But Jen Legs was leggy blonde. Probably boys, because girls as a whole don't give a toss about car noises. I think you're right. Did anyone know anyone else who had a Bionic Man action figure? I had one, and he lifted an engine, and you could look through the back of his head. He had like a bionic eye. This was like in the 70s, and you'd look through there was a small hole in the back of his head, and you'd look through the eye. Could never see anything, but the promise was so exciting. Sarah Doolally, I love the word schlep. Yeah, it's a right schlep. It's good, isn't it? I like that. Does it mean anything? Is it an actual word? Lumberjack? Yeah, I'm going for the lumberjack. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I work all night and I sleep all day. Now, what the Monty Python song then went on to sing, which possibly it couldn't now, is I wear women's clothes and I wear high heels. So much comedy back in the day, you just don't know how it would get through with the filters that are around today, do you? Ashley, is there an update on, did you say there's an update on Xander? Please text me or message me if you can, Ashley. I can't see your... Steffi Quinlan, we had to travel on 3 recovery trucks from Essex down to Hampshire yesterday. Took something, but we got to see other halves. 3, not so bad. Loved your Father's Day post yesterday. Steffi Quinlan. I don't think that was a good thing. Is that right? Is that what you're saying? We had to travel 3 recovery... Oh, that's tough, isn't it? Happy wedding anniversary, Sarah Elliott. Do girls make noises? What noises do girls make? They must be making noises as a kid is a thing, isn't it? Did you make a noise? What was your favourite noise that you made? I'm trying to think. I was just the most irritating little shit. This diagnosis of AD, I was just constantly asking questions. How many churches are there in China? My granddad very cleverly said, I don't think there are any churches in China, Mark, because they're not Christian or Catholic or religious in that sense. How many temples are there in China? How many buildings are there in China? How many peoples are there? Oh, it's just going on and on and on and on and on. I mean, it's often why I think I ended up in a room on my own. Because to be fair, I just think a lot of adults just had enough of me. They just park me out somewhere else. Just give him. I remember my uncle gave me, obviously an act of sheer desperation, he hived a pencil in half, shaved the sides of it off, wrote 6 numbers on the side. This is how you crafted a dice in the 70s when you didn't have a dice. And then he said, play football fixtures. And you rolled them, and I can't remember what happened. If you got this, you got a goal. If you did this, you didn't. And all that. No. Oh, here we go. Catherine Hamblin. Horsey noises. Yeah, I remember that happening in the playground. I remember us playing Starsky and Hutch in the playground. And of course, when we'd always do that bit, I don't know if you remember in the title sequence of Starsky and Hutch, there's that moment where Paul Michael Glazier, the one with the curly hair, they'd be wet and they'd be climbing over the bonnet of a car. And his cardigan was such a cool cardigan, was so wet. And as he came over, it was almost like he had to kind of crawl through it. We used to act that out, and we'd squeal. And then we'd jump out and we'd run around. And when we did that, the girls would go past the playground going, different times. Fiona Cromack, you played Charlie's Angels, there you go. Yeah, I loved all that shit. I loved it. There's nothing nicer than playing in a playground, is there? I mean, when you were a kid, obviously. I mean, it'd be bloody strange if I wanted to play in a playground. It's just not right at all. Huggy Bear. Hit the thumbs up, guys, if you're having fun. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up if you're having fun. Hit the thumbs up. We played Block 1, 2. Well, I think that has to be a conversation when Nads is here. The games we played in the playground. Because there were some pretty psychotic ones that our teachers played with us, I tell you right now. All I'm going to say to you is, did anyone else... I'm going to ask you this question, then we'll park it for another day. But we'll have games that we played in the playground. But one thing at our school was, did anyone else have a car tyre attached to a piece of wood with sort of wheels on the bottom, those wheels that go... Then another piece of wood on the top of that, and then a rope attached to it, and then you'd sit on top of it, and the teacher, you'd hold onto the rope, and you'd sit on the wheel, and the teacher would swing it round and round and round, and you would go faster and faster and faster. Oh my God. What were they called? Crazy shit in the 70s, I'm telling you that right now. But yeah, we'll talk about that another day. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? Look, I'm being drawn in. I started this and I'm going to stop. We're going for school nurses and the sick room. Or the puke bucket, was it? Or something? The puke, something you said. So what's in the news today? So booster jabs. Matt Hancock has been doing the rounds. Chatting bullshit, probably going to hear in about another 6 months. Someone will show us a text saying Matt Hancock's a dick and was lying to everyone about everything. So how can we trust what he's saying today? COVID booster jabs plan to be announced in weeks, says Hancock. Hancock's half hour. COVID booster jabs will be announced in weeks. Now, who thinks they're going to get this right? Who thinks this is good? Do you think this is going to run smoothly? Yes or no? Do you think this is going to run smoothly? Yes or no? Breaking news, England footy team is crap, someone just said. I'm inclined to agree. Sex Express. Was there a band called S Express? Sure there was. No, not a chance. Who knows? Marcia Tom says yes. Have we, I tell you what we seem to be distinctly lacking, other than from John Campbell, is if the vaccines are giving us so much immunity, do we actually need a booster jab? Or is the booster jab going to become something that we all think we need and that the government's going to make us have, because otherwise it doesn't look like they're doing their job properly? Whereas actually, I've got this feeling or this hunch, and this might be why they're not publicising how strong our immune systems are, whether you've had it. Let's not forget, Maddie had her antibody test. She had COVID, and we didn't know whether she had or not. And when she had her antibody test, the antibody test came back so high that they were like saying you've either been vaccinated or you've had it really strongly. So, and we're thinking of getting our antibody tested again to see how strong her antibody still is so that we can get our own real world research in this household. Because do you know what I mean? Because I think there's a danger that we might just kind of sleepwalk down this path of thinking we need it when we might not need it. Now, of course, there is always the worry that there's going to be an autumnal and winter surge. But I think the government needs to be more transparent with us about real data. And I'm hoping that this comes when we eventually come out of lockdown in July 19th. Because someone was suggesting there were all these messages. Were they fake messages coming around by the NHS saying doctors are being encouraged to, you know, go on holiday now and not in September? Claire Nicholson, I believe there may be evidence to say a booster could help our protection against variants. Don't think we really need it for length of protection. Okay, right, gotcha. So it's about variant protection. Well, again, I haven't really heard anything about how successful the trials have been with people with variants. You know, we keep hearing about the efficacy of all this, that, and the other, and then we keep being told that actually all of our jabs are really efficient against the Delta variant and all that malarkey. But how efficient are they? You know what I mean? I just don't know. It always feels like there's incomplete evidence and incomplete news. Miss One Tricia, how can a booster jab work? Unless it's done on a rolling rollout due to us all having vaccines at different times, it will go on forever. Well, yes. Yes, that is true. Big news just breaking. Love Island has announced its list of competitors. I think they're probably going to be more impressive than the England football team, don't you? I think let's get all the Love Island contestants on the pitch for the next England match. I think we stand a chance of winning. Angela Thompson, I will say yes, my daughter has COVID for a second time, not as bad as first time, and she's had both jabs, so yes to booster. Okay, so that's a good question. Yes or no to having a booster? Will you go for the booster? Yes or no? Hit the thumbs up whilst you're there as well, guys, because you're just, if it's there, just, just do it. I'm just having a look around it whilst you say yes or no. Will you get a booster? Tim Reed, yawn. I presume that's about the booster, is it? Yes. Yes, definitely. Okay. Anne Murray, to remind us, 68,000 people died of flu in 2018 to 19. Never heard it mentioned. I mean, yeah, it's not like the flu, because let's not forget the number of people that died with COVID was whilst we also had all the protections that we had in place. So when people draw that parallel, I mean, I think it's an important it's an important detail that flu does kill a lot of people, and we don't hear about it. But I think when I hear that comparison, I always have to check someone and say, but yeah, look, but the numbers, we got an equivalent, if not higher number of deaths. And that was with all of the lockdowns and social distancing. So imagine what it would have been like without. Do you get me? Here's a thought, though. That many people died of the flu, and we have flu jabs. How many people... the figure to look for is how many people will be dying with COVID jabs. And early indications suggest it's not going to be as much as a flu. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important to kind of compare and contrast those numbers. I really do. Teresa Clark. So lots of people. So it's all yes to a booster, and probably I guess because of the variant. Trying to target the variant. Acantha Rain Oak Moon. I'm even taking supplements to boost my immune system. I don't want this virus again, and I will take every safety guard offered to avoid getting it and spreading it. I agree. I mean, I think a huge part of mask wearing, observing the rules and all that kind of thing. I think, there's a lot of people who get very uppity and angry and all this kind of stuff about it. But at the end of the day, it's about a civic duty, isn't it? There's a civic responsibility. And either you take your civic responsibility seriously or you don't. And I think it's as simple as that, really. None of us want to wear masks, but if we know that it's not just also about what it does for you, it's also about how comfortable it makes other people feel around you. I mean, where was I this morning? I was somewhere and someone wasn't wearing a mask, and I kind of got a little bit annoyed with them. Not literally, but I just thought, come on, mate, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, just put a mask on. Miss One Trisha. I'm presuming you saw the last green-fingered hell, Miss One Trisha. Another one is being locked and loaded for firing off into the ether. Emma Staple, yes, the scientists know more than I do. I'll trust them if they recommend it. Absolutely. I mean, the only question mark ever I have around science, scientists and pharmaceuticals is where the financial incentive in any way ever muddies the efficacy of something. Do you see what I mean? That's that, and I just think that's something that we should, as free-thinking individuals, be able to challenge or question or prod without fear that you're being told you're a nutcase. Because, anything with a financial incentive, you have to check. Me too, Mark, says Nicola S. I get pissed off when people don't wear any masks. I know, yeah, especially when they don't have a laminated thing saying, I'm immune. I'm immune. HW, I love the Green Figures Hell and the blogs. It takes me away from the whole COVID-19. The one thing I do miss is the videos you used to do of just the tranquility of your garden. Oh, well, maybe we'll do another one of those soon. Do it at the weekend, maybe. Hi, Sam JP. How are you doing, Sam? Re-drinking and everything like that? Are you feeling good? Have my 13-year-old home until Friday isolating. Her school only has 1 year group. In everyone else isolating, looks like third wave is coming. Where are you? Whereabouts are you in the country? Ruth Blandford. I forgot to wear my mask once, and I only realised when I got out of the shop. Yeah, I mean, I'm that person who, if I don't have my mask before I go into the shop, I might go into the shop. It's as plain and simple as that. Not because I'm worried about myself, but I don't want to worry anyone else. Not immune, you mean exempt? Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant immune. I meant exempt. You're absolutely right. I meant exempt. So booster plans. So we can look forward to that. Matt Hancock's going to say something about booster plans, and then probably it's all going to fall apart. What's this? Oh, yeah, no, that's interesting. Now, has anyone else seen? There's this story that's in the Times and the Sun newspaper. Oh, you're in Somerset near Bath, so not a million miles away from Frome. Oh, well, look, send him my love, Sam JP. Send him my love. I know we talked a lot around a number of our mental health chats, didn't we? One of these, there's this report coming through about heavier bleeding periods. I do find it annoying when people get squeamish about talking about periods. Have a very open dialogue about these things with my girls, and it's part of life, isn't it? So heavier bleeding. Apparently, the vaccine watchdog is having to monitor closely the fact that 4,000 women have reported period problems after getting their jab, and this is around bleeding more heavily. So the reason I wanted to home in on this is I think anyone who's had the jab and anyone experiences this, they're saying that they think a lot of women just won't report it for a slight embarrassment, or maybe they think it's an irrelevance and all that kind of stuff. But I think if this is something that's affecting you, I think it'd be really good to get as much statistical evidence about as possible. So, ask your friends, ask the relatives, ask people in your family who are still of age to have their periods and what have you. Have they noticed any changes? Official figures obtained by the Sunday Times show that over 2,500 reports of period problems linked to the AstraZeneca vaccine were made to the medicines and healthcare products. Now, this doesn't mean there's any issue with fertility or anything like that, but I think it's really important that there is this thing of reporting all side effects. So I think it's really important to report these side effects when you can, because like they're saying, is this another side effect that needs to go on the box or on the bottle? That don't be worried. But that is a story that's sort of just pulsing in the background, and I think it may move. It's one of those sorts of stories that may move up the news agenda, or I think it's these news stories are difficult because they can be seized upon by anti-vaxxers and COVID deniers as, here's the evidence. But this is where I think me and Nadia are both very keen on this. It's important to be able to question things. It's important to be able to grapple with some of the maybe unwanted side effects of things or implications of things without them being characterised as this or characterised as that. It's also being reported in the Times as well, Jill Kilner, which is owned by the same company as The Sun. not, but again, even in that, on that tone, I think this feels like an unagenderized. You know, the Sun and the Times are very pro-vaccine, so they wouldn't be running a story that was wanting to kind of appeal to that side of things. So that's why I think it's, again, you can almost use the right-wingness of the Sun and the Times as a reason to take that story seriously, because in a sense it would run against a comfortable feeling about the vaccine. So I think it's a story that's worth just staying focused on. Now, the other big story today is school weigh-ins. Now listen to this. School weigh-ins are to return amid fears of a post-lockdown child obesity crisis. Experts predict results will be a jolt to the Prime Minister. So, school weigh-ins. What do you think about that? I don't know. I mean, Marcia Toms, it's awful, it's not fair. It's funny because at first you think, okay, well, this is just a strident way of trying to monitor the health of our children and our nation. And then on another, you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, but the nuts and bolts of this is taking kids through a door into a room and weighing them. And I think that creates all sorts of implications and complications. Nicola S., I think you've hit the nail on the head. No, bullying will worsen. I think it will. I think as you come out the other side of the room, people are like, what were you? What were you? What were you? And if you have someone in your group or class that is, say, maybe more obviously overweight or whatever, they're going to then be targeted, aren't they? And yet, how could we go about working out, almost doing a sort of audit or a kind of census poll of the weight conditions of the nation? Now, I wonder whether it should be done by families and parents at home. I mean, admittedly, you're not going to be able to, you know, most families where perhaps children are not cared for the best aren't going to want to weigh them. But what's your feeling on this, guys? Let's have a read of some of your comments. It's a big story today. A weigh-ins at schools. Sabrina Neal, that will just escalate eating disorders in young children. With a child with an eating disorder for over 2 years, I think it's horrific. Thank you. That's, yeah. Elizabeth Gordon, geez, control of our children. I really don't like that. Weighing our children. Christine Bett, not a good move. Sharona, Mark, you're at 120k. Please get your plaque up and get your label suit. Okay, we'll do, Sharona. Still looking for your letter, sweetheart. Ambi M, I struggled enough with anxiety around my weight as a teen. This would have scared me from ever going in. Wow. Emma Staple, I wouldn't have gone to school if they made us do that. My self-esteem was already too low. But happens at the doctor's, Cat, happens at the doctor's but not in front of your classmates. That's a good point. Natasha Milchan would have killed me. It was bad enough at the doctor's when I was a kid. Ruth Blandford, you can be thin and unhealthy or bigger and healthy. It's not about numbers. That's a very, very good point. Very good point. Gabrielle, kids won't tell teachers if they're feeling scared and will hold it in, making their mental health worse. Claire Hemming, no, I don't agree. It's a gateway to bullying. It's only me. We were weighed and measured at my school once a month in the 90s in front of the whole class. My God, it was just awful. Just increases the amount of physical activity, daily. Yeah, I mean, I think perhaps you could do it by stealth. Maybe we don't need to put children through that experience. You just kind of, you ratchet the kind of PE, the health, the diet. You just turn the dial in a different direction and hope and assume that it's going to have a positive effect. It's Sean Thomas, what about Nikki Graham? Have we not learnt from her death? Elizabeth Gordon, we used to have medicals at junior school and no parents allowed. Now, Elizabeth Gordon, thank you. This is why I then put school nurses in the title. What were your experiences of going to the school nurse or the school sick room when I was? I remember, right, this might be, I was a kid. When I think back, how unregulated it was. As boys, we were made to queue up outside the nurse's office, walk into a room where the headmaster, the deputy head and a nurse would do the whole business of making you cough and checking your you-know-whats to make sure they dropped. I still to this day don't know whether that was normal. I still to this day don't know if that was normal. Yeah. Did that, I mean, we're talking between 75 and 1981. Was that normal back then? You used to go in and cough. Doesn't sound normal, does it? Doesn't sound normal. I would say no. Yeah, it was odd. I mean, there was the whole thing about, you know, what's dropping and all that kind of stuff. If you cough, they drop. No. If you, they never explained to us what they were checking. I mean, you know, but we all lined up there, just going in. It just couldn't happen now, could it? I mean, it might have been normal, but it just couldn't happen. It couldn't happen now. And so, so yeah, in front of three adults there, and oh, it was all very weird. It was all very weird. And to this day, I still wonder, hang on a minute, was this going on in other primary schools around the area? The music to the Popcorn Junkies is a YouTube track. It's a YouTube track. It's called Happy Haunts or something. Very strange, very strange. But the nurses, when I used to, if you were having a bad day, did anyone ever feign sickness and go to the sick room? Or the sick bay, as Angie Bayliss Harrison Mundy calls it. In the sick bay every month with severe period pain, just kept telling me to sort it out, collapsed several times, it was so severe. Oh. They did NIT checking as well. That was always fun, wasn't it? No, not normal, Sabrina. Okay, thank you. But I have to confess, every now and then, I would feign an asthma attack if I don't know why, I can't remember what the reason was. If something wasn't happening, I'd go, oh, I'm having an asthma attack. And then I'd go into this room and I'd lie there for ages. And you just lie there. I would just lie there. It was to get out of PE, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was more often to get out. But mind you, I quite enjoyed sport. Yes, Elizabeth Gordon, I used to go into the medical room and she gave me milk and biscuits. I think she thought I was neglected at home. Anna sent you home if you felt sick, so I was always in there because I hated it. Ambi M, sick bay was mostly just a waiting room for kids who didn't do homework for the next class. Yes, Ellery Jones, just to get out of swimming. Henrietta Henson, I could throw up when I had double maths, it just happened. Wow. I'd sleep in my sick bay, Christina Olivia. Most of my treatment by the medical lady in primary school involved a magic wet blue towel. How funny is that? Wow. School nurse gave one paracetamol and left there with a blanket, Marcia Toms. At boarding school, Min Vestuto, in the 70s, it was the infirmary. Oh. No, I was just in there on my own. There was no one in there with me. You just lay on a bed on your own. Yeah, school nurses. Weird, wasn't it? School nurses and school librarians. Curious bunch. School librarian never made it fun to read books. You'd think they would be the arbiters of making you want to read, but in fact, they scared me. It's a bit like the librarian in Monsters University. Jill Kilner, can I just say, we really, really, really understand that you don't read the Sun newspaper. Really, really understand that now. Thank you, Jill. Rachel Louise loved our school nurse, used to go in for a chat when not wanting to go to lessons. Oh, that's sweet. That's really sweet. Angela Thompson, I can remember the sickly green painted walls. Deborah Holdsworth, I remember getting shot with an air rifle whilst walking out the school gates and having to go to the hospital for tetanus and policemen walking in whilst I had my tetanus. How embarrassing. Oh my God. I remember watching a boy shoot a girl in the foot with an air rifle because she wouldn't go out with him. Deborah Holdsworth, it wasn't you, was it? Sam JP, our librarian, used to shush so loud. She was quite an angry little lady. I know, it's weird, isn't it? Maybe they just had an intolerance to loud noise and then they were put in a school. Imagine the horror of that if you had an intolerance to sound and you were put in a school. Okay, so the final story today is summer solstice. Hundreds attend Stonehenge despite advice. Hundreds of people attended the summer solstice. It was the longest day, or it is the longest day today, despite official advice asking them not to travel to the site in line with COVID restrictions. English Heritage pulled a live feed of the sunrise at the Neolithic Monument in Wiltshire at 10 to 5 this morning due to safety concerns. People were seen climbing over a low fence. So I think yesterday, is today the longest day, or was yesterday the longest day? Videos from the scene showed about 100 people inside the stone circle with a banner reading, "Standing for Stonehenge." Now, I think Druids get a bad press. Oh, they deserve to be arrested, says Angela Bayliss Harrison Monday. Well, yeah, outside, I'm talking about outside of COVID. I mean, in terms of COVID, I suppose many of them are in a sort of much more sort of, you know, spiritually cosmic place. And this is just yet one other thing that's sort of thrown at us. You know, I've got a soft spot for Druids, only because so much, we don't realise so much of what we do. Easter, for example, Easter eggs. I mean, I know obviously there's the Christian element to it, but we are a paganistic, Druid-based culture. The Celts, you know, Welsh, Cornish, you know, we are, this is in our, you know, we have our own archaic kind of, we're not just Catholics and Christians and Protestants and all that kind of stuff. And so I think, you know, I'm a big fan of people being able to sort of believe in different things. And leading Druid, King Arthur Pendragon, performed a ritual during the summer solstice at Stonehenge. So I think, you know, okay, they need to observe social distancing, and I get it. It's like if everyone else is, so too should you. Civic responsibility and all of that. But I guess if you're a Druid, you'd be seeing this as a sort of, I don't know, this is probably just a natural, almost a metaphor, is like it's natural rash, a spiritual rash for the way in which the world has been ravaged by corporations and overpopulations and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so there's some pretty angry Druids knocking about down in Somerset. So if you're in the area, if you're near Bath or Frome or Stonehenge, be warned, you might hear that strange slapping sound of sandals as they come charging towards you. Yeah, you know, but I think, you know, I think what the Druids stand for, I think is a nice thing. I think it's, you know, that's fine. I mean, what I don't like is vandals and sandals, and I suppose the question mark here is, you know, who is a vandal in a sandal and who's just, you know, there for the sun and all that sort of stuff. So there we go. Let's just look after, shall we just look after Sadie Foster? There we go. To avoid you being hurt in a car crash, I've just managed to get rid of you. So guys, have a lovely day. Hit the thumbs up if you've enjoyed having a natter. I love all your contributions, are so lovely and so meaningful. Have a lovely day, and something will be landing on the channel later. We're going to go off and do some homeschooling. Lots of love, guys.